Hello, everyone. This is Michael Oloide, and welcome to Drum Quarters. And in the studio with me today, we have one of the finest drummers in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, I think is one of the busiest drummers in Lagos State. So in the studio, we have one of my favorite drummers, as it were, in the person of Victor Mosugu. Are you shy?
Nah, I'm blushing. You're
You
making me blush. I'm shy.
It's good to have you in the studio
Same
today.
here, boss. Thanks so much, sir. The
Yeah.
pleasure is mine.
You took that away from me. All right. Yeah, I'm sure everyone who have seen you play in one way or the other have been attracted to your drumming, and I'm sure they've been looking for an opportunity to hear your story, how the whole drumming thing started. From I'm sure you have uh, an humble beginning story, kind of a story, and
I'm humble present.
and right now to the point whereby you find yourself traveling around the world playing on so many recordings with one of the finest artists and musicians in Nigeria at the moment. So please, can you take us on the journey?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I appreciate the fact that I'm here. Thanks for having me. I'm really grateful. And my life has been amazing. Thanks be to God. I have not regretted, and I do not regret being a musician, a drummer. I started when I was very young, from when I was two, started making noise. And my family, my parents, they saw that I really liked what I was doing and they decided to invest in me.
Wow.
So at that time, I was born in an Anglican family. So we had our church. We used to attend our church headquarters at that time. So not long after they discovered that I liked drum, um, the Anglican church decided to open a branch very close to where we used to stay back then in Kogi State. And that was how they said, okay, since it's a new branch, let's just buy drums, leave Victor to start making noise. However it turns out. So that was how it started. So I was making noise until it started becoming something else. Like it started making sense. From being noisy to me making sense, and that's how it started and continued. And
So you're saying you had your parents' support from the beginning.
from day one,
That's kind of contrary to a lot of musicians' story
yeah,
around
yeah,
here.
yes,
Well, for me, I
yes,
also had my parents' support. I
yeah.
remember the first metronome I got, it was my dad who got me my first metronome.
Oh, I'm very lucky.
So really, so the story could be different in the sense
Yeah,
that, yeah, we have lots of musicians who had to leave their parents' house to pursue their dream.
true.
But in your own case, you had your parents supporting you
Yeah,
fully.
yeah.
So from Anglican church, so
Well, from Anglican church, then so I was in school. I was very small then. So while I was doing school, I was playing drums every Saturday, Sunday, rehearsal Saturday, service on Sunday. And I grew like that, like that, like that. I started playing drums, still schooling. So the problem a lot of parents have with musicians, or they think they would have with their children being musicians, is the fact that they think if their children do music, they won't continue school or focus,
yeah.
which I can't blame them. Probably for some reason, maybe from experience, is what they're acting on. But it's not usually like that. A lot of people do well in school and
Yeah.
still do their music. Yeah. So I grew like that, like that. I used to shuffle between Abuja and Jos because I have my big sister in Jos, Abuja also. So I used to go around
Okay.
those places, until I finished from school, university, and I decided to just come. At that point, while I was doing those shuffling, I was attending different churches at that time,
Okay.
Pentecostal. Before, like way back, I started even playing at campaigns. way back. So that's with governors and political campaigns and all,
Rallies and stuff.
rally and all. So I started going to Pentecostal. At some point, I had to leave Anglican Church, and that was how it was until 2014 when I finally decided. The way I decided to come to Lagos was very funny. So I had, for the times where I used to be in Kogi State, in Lokoja, I've met with different musicians from Lagos, different artists. They will come, they will see me, they will be like, "Guy, where are you from?" I'm like, I'm here, I'm based here. I'm like, "Come to Lagos, come to," and I'm always like, "Oh, okay, I will." There was a friend of mine that he was on my case like for 2-3 years in school that I should, Kogi State University, that I should come to Lagos. I used to play, I'll just say okay. I never took him serious. So until one day, until 31st of what month? Before November. 31st of November. So there was a concert in Kogi State, in Lokoja, and musicians came from Lagos, and a few of them that had seen me before saw me again. I'm like, "Guy, come to Lagos. What are you doing?" I'm like, "One day I will come." So after that concert, I was on my way home, and from nowhere, I just decided, okay, tomorrow I want to go to Lagos.
Wow.
And that was how I came into Lagos on the 1st of December, 2014. I decided to come and spend 3 months, see what it looks like.
Now
I'm on 3 months. I still there 2022.
What an interesting story.
Thank God.
So how did he get into Lagos State? You know, I'm sure definitely there are lots of drummers in Lagos State. Yes, I've had stories of drummers coming from Ibadan, from
different places,
Delta, Port Harcourt, to come and like test the waters in Lagos. Yes, as we all know, Lagos scene is actually saturated and highly competitive. So you have to be on top of your game for you to stay afloat and all of that. So how did everybody, I'm sure for those who don't know, you're well traveled and all of that. So how did it start from did you get into a church, or was it an artist that you started with in Lagos, and how did the word get out?
Okay, so the day I decided to come to Lagos, that night, I made some calls, told some people. My friend that had been on my case to come to Lagos in school, I called him that I was coming, and he was happy. So the other people I told, they were all excited. So a lot of people made some calls on my behalf, even before I got into Lagos the next morning. So I got into Lagos on the 1st of December, 2014. As early as 6:30 a.m., I was already on my way to a church, one Redeem, at Water Corporation Road, I can't forget, for an audition. So I got into Lagos on the 1st, had an audition, and at that time it was Tosinbi's church. It was, So that's how it was. So since I've been in Lagos till now, there's never been a day that I was at home because I didn't have a church. Thankfully, I thank God, I appreciate it, because I know there are lots of people that didn't have churches then when I came, that they were playing for and all of that. But I came, and the next day I was already going for an audition. And so I didn't join that church eventually. I joined one church at Maryland, Harvest Place. I called a friend of mine, a big bro, Dolapo, bassist. So I called him. I'm like, "Bros, I don't do Lagos." So because he also had come to Lokoja and he had seen me. So I had this number. So when I entered Lagos, I called him, and he said, "Oh, okay, finally you don't come." So he gave me a friend's number, one Godwin that used to play bass. I think he did Star Quest. They were the last set that won the Star Quest. So he was the band leader of one church at Maryland. So I went there for audition also. Around that same week I landed, I got to Lagos. I went there for audition, I started there, and that was how I started playing in that church. And then, cut long story short, my friend Neon Adejo, we met in school, so we've known ourselves for that long. So he heard I was in Lagos. Then he called me. I saw his call one day. I'm like, "Guy, how far? Longest time, how are you doing?" He said, "You did Lagos?" I'm like, "Yes, so I did Lagos." He said, "You know, tell me since, waiting there happen. Come House on the Rock, guy, come House on the Rock." So he told me the day I should come to House on the Rock, which was on a Wednesday. So I got to the church, and apparently he had already told the music director about me. He don't blow my trumpet in every different way. So when I got there, I met the music director, with Joel at the time, and he gave me a warm welcome and asked me to come on this next Saturday to the Wednesday. So I went that Saturday. I played at the audition. It was a choir rehearsal, so they just asked me to play. So I played and they said, "Oh, we like the way you play. Nice. Can you resume like the next day?"
Yeah.
So it was that fast.
So everything is more like next day.
Next day. So I believe and strongly know grace. God has been on my case and is always on my side. Before then, I used to. So when I around the time I landed, I met Small Sam. I used to move with him. He used to go with me for all
Which of the Sam?
Desta Owundo.
Owundo.
Yes. So I used to go with him for all rehearsals and all. At some point, he had to travel with Keza Jones for a tour. And Bez had a gig. They needed someone to play. But because I used to go with him to rehearsals, so they just say, "I made Victor play now, drummer now." So in their mind, they wanted me to start learning the songs or to send the song. But rehearsal, I don't come for like 1-2 months. Waiting, I won't learn again. So no matter, I just bros. So they sent the song. The rehearsal was the next day. So in their head, they're like, "Okay, just try to learn them. Small, you go learn the song." So I got to rehearsal. I played everything once. So you've been paying attention. And that was how we did the first gig. It was at Eco Atlantic. Yeah, that was when I met Emeka L Drums. He heard me playing. I didn't know. I knew some faces, but I didn't even know he was there. So he heard me playing. After the sound check, now came, "Who be that? Where are you from?" I'm like, "Kogi State." So it's been like that, and I've tried to meet. I've met with people. I've made sure. I intentionally make sure I'm friends with a lot of people because I get to learn from everybody. Very important. I don't joke with.
Awesome. So how did you get the Yemi Alade gig then?
Then I joined House on the Rock, and House on the Rock is a massive church, platform-wise, size-wise, every-wise. So when you're playing it at House on the Rock, you're at the center stage. So a lot of people can see you. If you are new, they know you are new. If you sound different, they know you sound different. Yeah. So a lot of people saw me, and that's how Rotimi Keys, that's how he comes into the picture. So he's been a member of House on the Rock. So he usually would sit and listen to the music and all of that until I joined. So he would sit and he was listening to me all the while. I didn't even know. That's why it's always important at every time, give your best. Do not say it's not a live recording. This one is Sunday service. It's not live recording. Let's share it. Let's be noisy. Let's be rowdy. Because the person that might be coming to give you that gig that day might meet you playing rowdy and might judge you by that. Wow. So I used to be at my best. When time reached to show, say, "One boy just come, I go show." When time reached, I go play discipline and all. So one day he just walked up to me like, "Oh, okay, I'm rooting to make case. I got to." He said he likes the way I play. He would like me to be recording for him. So that's how I started recording for him. And then the opening, he used to be Yemi Alade's music director at the time. So I think the band she was using before, some of them traveled and they left and all of that. So he had the job and duty to bring in a new band. Being his drummer, and he had the bassist, Raphael Akpan, the small baby Raf. He just thought it was okay. These guys I've worked with for some years at that time. Why not bring them on board? And that was how I started working with Yemi Alade, going on tour and all of that.
Wow. So how many countries did you guys?
Bros, I can't count. I've lost count. Wow. The person that always remembers is Raphael. That one can never. He remembers what state we went to, where, but I can't count. Been to the US, Canada, Australia. I think Yemi was planning an Asia tour. Asia, like world tour, so to say, before COVID. Including Asia. So that would have been the only place that like Asia, we've never been to anywhere in Asia,
Okay.
China, anywhere. But yeah. Wow.
So back to the drumming thing. From your experience so far, being in Kogi, coming down to Lagos State, then, as it were, like conquering Lagos State and and uh, going on tour and seeing other drummers, seeing the world in a different way. Uh, how has that experience kind of how has it added to your drumming? What's the difference? What in some of your travels, I'm sure you must have interacted
Of course.
and seen other drummers
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
And you, by the time you go back home, I'm sure you must have like fine tune or
True.
like kind of critique yourself, or maybe as a matter of fact, perhaps praise yourself for some of the things you are doing right. So, how has all of these experiences come to play in your drumming till date and going forward?
Okay, so we all know that there's a level you get. There's a level in music that you just cannot afford to be rowdy or noisy, or you have to be calculative. You have to be composed. So on all the tours, trips, recordings we've done, getting to meet people, and all of that, it has only showed me one thing: like consistency is key. Consistency is key, and being consistent in the right direction.
Being consistent in the right
Direction. Yeah. So you have to be musically inclined, mature. You have to be it's another level, trust me. It's another level. So there was this time, I think it was St. Lucia or Dominica. We went to Dominican Republic and we met some musicians. These guys, I had never seen them before. I'd never heard of them before. I didn't know their music. But we were, of course, with Yemi, we were the A-list artists, main artists for the night, headlining artists. So few hours to the end of the concert was when we were supposed to perform. So we entered the green room. It was in a stadium. We stayed at the green room and we were hearing this music that these guys were playing. It was so mad. And it was their traditional music.
Interesting.
So we decided to, of course, we had all the passes necessary. We decided to walk close to the stage and see what was happening. We got there and saw this matured set of people performing. Bros, it was mad. Like, they are not young boys, so we go say young boys with the para. They are matured people. So they didn't have all the shade and all, but the musicianship was on another level. The togetherness was crazy. Old people.
Wow.
That if I say I should call him daddy and bow. The musicianship was crazy. Then what blew my mind then, when they finished performing and they did like bah, 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 bah. Good night, thank you. The bass player, he had this Jet Li type of air, like all this no air here. They just plat one thing here, we long go down. Oh, the bon. When he finished,
Ponytail.
when they just did ponytail, when they just did thank you, I saw Yamaha company. So apparently, they are all Yamaha ambassadors in the band.
Wow.
The drummer, he had a Yamaha DTX. Is it DTX? A Yamaha machine, anyways. Yamaha drum, Yamaha bass, keyboards, of course. After the back, thank you. The bass player did not touch his bass. He did not reduce his volume. Immediately, I saw some white men putting on black. They rushed to each and every, the guitarists, the bassist, drummer, keyboardist, and they went to the person that came behind the bassist, quickly held him from behind and reduced the volume. The bros we play no touch him. Me and Raf, I was looking at Raf. After he reduced the volume, the bass was still on his body, he was walking away. The person behind removed the belt and removed the bass. So person will play finished. He didn't touch his volume when he finished. He just said, thank you. He turned. The bass was sitting. The person assigned to the bassist rushed there to reduce the volume and remove the strap. So the bassist will play, no touch him. He just waka they go. Drummer, he just dropped the stick, left. His drum bag, his cymbals, he had someone to pack everything. You know, there are levels to this thing. So, me now that I came with Yemi Alade, a sound check. People, I met the drum, the rider, I gave them everything. I met it there. It was already set. But when they finish, the drum machine with me I bring, I me go carry them because I me bring them. But these ones are ambassadors, as in proper ambassadors, not ambassador that they will just give you. Come on, these one white men. These white men are not Dominican white men, no. White Americans. So that's another mad level. So there are levels to this thing. You just know there's more. You have to work. Those people, the drummer is not fantastic. He's not a skillful drummer. It's fantastic for them to have attracted us, actually. It's fantastic. But he's not a skillful drummer. He didn't do, even if he is, or even if he was, he didn't do anything skillful that day. But their musicianship and bros, it was mad. It was mad. So there's more. There's more. Man over talk.
So what do you think? Because like oftentimes I've been in situations where I had to like convince people that drums doesn't necessarily have to be loud, in the sense that, you know, there's some venues that once they see your kit, they see me bringing my kit and it's already setting up, they'll be like, no, we don't want noise, no, and and I understand the fact that in Lagos, as it were, presently, there are lots of very lousy, not necessarily loud, lousy. I think that's the right word, lousy. So it now becomes noise. Okay. You understand? And what you're saying so far now, like, okay, you might have the speed, the dexterity, and everything, but more or less like you are just giving the music what it requires, and that's all. It needs salt, just salt, no honey, no sugar, and that's what's needed. You understand? So it's amazing to know that, okay, yes, there's always another level.
There is,
you understand?
bros.
I'm sure
there is.
In while you were in Kogi, I'm sure it was a different level. When you came to Lagos, it was a different level. Now going really out and seeing what's out there is also a different level.
Yeah.
So for drummers, who I'm sure you have lots of drummers who aspire to play like you, who aspire to, at times some might say, okay, maybe even if just a fraction of what you do and all of that. What advice would you give them in terms of drumming? What advice would you give them?
I would really say from my heart, from my heart, like this is what I tell everybody. Me, I don't have time to be lying up and down. I'll tell you the truth. You don't necessarily need to have all the skill. It is important. But before the skill, your foundation needs to be right. Your foundation, knowing that you can, even down to, I loved, I mean, when I go for gigs and all, when on tour or wherever, we have drum techs that will set the drum amazingly, that you will know that, okay, nice. But simply because that guy has not been on tour with me before, we just met, you understand? He might not really know how exactly I want this thing's position. So even when he's done positioning it in a very good way, I still need to readjust that. Understand? It was in France that we had one drum tech that after like 4 shows, he got used to how I used to set my drum. Then he used to set it perfectly the way I wanted. So even down to those details, how to set your drum, how to tune, you really need it. So your foundation needs to be right. Your foundation needs to be right. Your foundation needs, you cannot joke with it. Your foundation in the sense that how to play drum, how to hold your sticks, how to, you don't have to shed, you have to be calculative when you're playing your hi-hat, when to open it and close it. On each bar that passes, what particular number you're opening and closing it. And also, the sky is just your starting point. Remember, the sky is wide enough for 8 million birds to fly. You understand? So do not give up. Do not give up. There's more. There's more. There is more. There is more. Be humble. Put God first. Be humble. Learn. Don't be competitive. We are not using it for anything. I have my pattern. Ebonye has his pattern. We all have our pattern. What he can play, I can't try it. There are some things I can play. He will try itself, but even as a one that he is, you understand? Everybody has his
Yeah,
own pattern. Don't,
uniqueness. Yeah.
everybody is unique. You're unique. That's why my belly is a little big. His own is slim. It's fresh, slim. Me, I don't tumble. Everybody is unique. Don't argue. Don't sit in a gathering and be saying, this drummer tired past this one. It go kill him. You are wasting your time. That drummer where they argue about, they make money. They want recording as you they talk. You did they argue about that. You know get sense. So focus on
Yeah.
yourself. Work on yourself,
I
and
I think this is a good note for us to end on, and I'm sure Victor has a lot of things to share, and we've barely scratched the surface. On some other day, maybe very soon, on some of when we start the podcast, the roundtable
yeah,
discussion with some other drummers. We're going to go deeper into some questions, some challenges, things that uh, drummers in Lagos and in general are facing, from technique to professionalism to finances. There's so many factors, you
yeah.
understand, that
I
comes
think
into
that's
play in for you to be a refined
true.
drummer. You understand?